Mis corazonzones. I'm Gata. I'm an executive producer, reggaeton historian, o sea, the culture's favorite reggaeton historian, lecturer, entrepreneur, and recording artist. And this is Reggaeton Con La Gata. This is a space where I'll be interviewing artists on culture, music, politics, and sometimes we even get personal. Y aquí estamos en flow Spanglish. No es que yo no hablo español. It's that this is the language that best reps US Latinos. Pues aquí estamos. Every week, right here, make sure to tap in. Mis corazonzones. The Big 42, el 42. I'd like to be talking about Setch's album 42 and how it was a breakthrough album for him as an artist, but also as a Panamanian. But instead, I don't think I'd be me if I didn't talk about what's going on right now. So let's get into that first. Y si tengo el ánimo, I'll bring it back to reggaeton. Let's see how I feel. It is, after all, my show. On behalf of all black women in America, and when I say black, I don't care about nationality. I'm talking about diaspora. Here's a collective Negro sigh. Because y'all are exhausting. So 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Preddy was murdered by ICE. 37-year-old Nicole Renee Good. Dios, perdóname. Renee Nicole Good was murdered by ICE. 43-year-old Keith Porter was murdered by ICE. So many people, more than 40, have been murdered by ICE since ICE was created. I am older than ICE. Let's just put that out there. And recently, 5-year-old Liam was abducted. 2-year-old little girl was abducted by ICE in Minnesota and flown to Texas. There's increased rhetoric online regarding ICE entering homes without judicial warrants. And according to multiple sources like NPR, NBC, and Washington Post, an internal DHS memo is granting ICE agents entry without this judicial warrant. In other words, ICE está del diablo. But what's even more exhausting is the thousands of people online only caring about what's going on as of 2026 because white people have been killed. Oh yeah, let's get into it. Vamos para allá. White women, I need y'all to know y'all are insufferable. And white Latinos, this applies to you too. And I can't sugarcoat it. I'm sorry. Y'all know I'm nice. I'm pretty nice. I'm so nice. Like, I'm nice. I'm patient. Truly, with everything going on in the world and just the way that black women are listened to, I am so nice. I'm too nice. Like, truly. Don't deserve me. Insoportable. I really can't sugarcoat it. So on behalf of black women everywhere, I can't express enough just how exhausting people are online to begin to feel outraged. Like, qué privilegio. You just tapping in? That's nice. That's so nice. It must be nice. I am disassociating like a motherfucker, let me tell you. And I deserve to, because like many of other black women, I have done my part. And like, what's the point of running ourselves into the ground over and over if people are not going to listen? And in honor of black women everywhere, for the last time, because really, like, I don't want to comment on this anymore. I call time out, bro. I will give a small history lesson on policing, how we got here, and why too many of y'all have it wrong online. Aquí en Reggaeton Con La Gata. So, if you're watching everything going on and confused on what's going on, I hate you slightly. But I need you to understand that it's justified. Because here's tea. Okay? History lesson. I told y'all it's a history lesson. In between the 16th and 19th century, there was a mass genocide called, dun dun dun, the Atlantic slave trade. But today, a lot of people are unfamiliar with this because it's rarely ever referred to as a genocide. But in fact, it was. In the United States, or the colonies as it was, there was chattel slavery, which means that those enslaved were treated as legal personal property. And the inhumane things that went down during this time will make any non-psychopathic person's stomach turn. I mean, breeding, whipping, mutilating, shackling, branding, starvation, deprivation, confinement, execution, forced labor, of course, which is most discussed, because literally the labor of black people, like, made the economy of what is America today. Psychological and emotional torment, sexual violence. The list goes on and on. Again, I bring this up because people rarely speak about this time as a genocide, and it was. And I think that's the first of many mistakes that lead us to why we're here now in 2026. Millions of Africans were kidnapped and enslaved, and millions died in the process of it all. Whether it was direct execution, like being thrown off of the ships, so the enslavers can collect insurance money. Oh, yeah. Literally. I mean, think about that for a second. Imagine throwing cargo, because they were considered human cargo, thrown off of the ship so that they can collect the money. Get people that, like, evil. Like, it was so, like, I really need you to resonate on this. This is so evil, right? That the amount of bodies dropped between Africa and modern day America was so many that it changed the paths of which the sharks circulated in the water. Like, sharks were not, like, in the Atlantic just chilling before this. In other words, there was so much food for them dropped into the water that it changed their behavior. Evolution, literally. Like, I hate y'all for real, for really getting me into this. I'd rather talk about perreo. But here we are. And so, see, mira, all of this, millions of Africans being kidnapped and enslaved, dying in the process of it all. Again, whether it's through execution or being thrown off ships so that the enslavers can collect insurance money, hangings, shootings, etc. All of this was in pursuit of the royal crown across Europe building their economies. And enslaving Africans was a good business because you can literally spot them if they try to run away. So see, not so fun fact, because I don't relish in slavery of anybody, but before Europe went in this direction, white people were actually enslaving other white people, but it was so much harder to keep track of their slaves because they blend in. So they came up with a cruel, more defined system. I'm a historian, so I'm a nerd for this. And apparently the word slave actually comes from Slav, like Slavic. So the more you know. And one of the ways that this system was kept in check in the colonies and or, you know, lo que era America anteriormente, were slave patrols, the original policing system. All over socials these past couple of weeks, you saw posts comparing the stars of the sheriff, comparing it with that of the slave patrols. Because guess what? Those are the roots. And they were paid the then equivalent of thousands of dollars to bring runaway slaves back to their oppressors. They even got tax exemptions. Okay? And I'm talking about 16th to 19th century. Let's think about how cruel this system is and how many parallels you're starting to draw just by listening to this. It gets worse. And they were paid, and their methods included surveillance, dogs, violence and punishment, like whipping and hanging, temporarily, not enough to kill them, because obviously cargo, quote unquote, is more valuable alive than dead, but just inhumane sort of manners of capturing people, whether it was like with, you know, those sort of capturing devices that you put out for animals. Those were used for human beings, for black human beings. And just so I'm clear, these were U.S. slave patrols, U.S. marshals, yes, militias, commissioners, And all of this was supported by the Slave Act of 1850. I can't believe things are so backwards in 2026 that I'm talking about this instead of reggaeton. I hate it here. But alas, doesn't this sound familiar? Militias, U.S. Marshals, patrols, commissioners. The only title I didn't include was KKK, and that's because they came a little bit later. My entire point is that in 2026, people like to talk about what's going on. Kids being abducted and sent to detention centers. People like Renee Nicole Good or Keith Porter or Alex Preddy executed in the street. Or the 40 plus other people killed by ICE. Or the thousands killed by police. Ahmaud Arbery, Tamir Rice, Amadou Diallo, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Mike Brown. Like it's new. And that's ahistorical as fuck. It's audacious. And for someone like me, it's hilarious because none of this is new. All of this is tradition. Mis corazones. We'll be right back right after these messages. Así que no te muevas. Pues sí, mi gente. My God. The truth is, black people are the original case study of this country, of how low the establishment can go when it comes to taking advantage of or mistreating people for commercial or personal benefit. So while I'm scrolling on Threads and Twitter, reading a tweet saying, it was years before the German Nazis started killing people in the streets, we got here in one. I'm sorry, bro, but that's hilarious. Tu tá loco. As a historian, I have to know it's hilarious that people not only think of the Jewish Holocaust in Nazi Europe as like the cause and not the effect. Okay? Like, the Jewish Holocaust in Nazi Europe was the effect, not the cause. It never occurred to people that maybe Hitler was inspired by the cruelty that happened in the United States. He just added his own flair to it. And I'm not saying that that's funny. That's not funny at all. It's disgusting. Mi gente, my entire point of bringing this up, gata, tú estás lejísimo, is that A, history repeats itself, and B, a lot of the most evil people in the world are inspired by other evil people who also existed in the world. That's my point. So no, we didn't get here in 1 year of Trump's second non-consecutive term. We got here centuries ago. The U.S. was built on genocide and colonization, not patriotic speeches that magically united people. Like, miss me with that bullshit. There were and still are strict rules on who gets to participate in society and how they are to participate. And if you think I'm being dramatic, ay gata, Dios mío, dramática, just look at how we receive information today and the desperate attack on TikTok. Not for nothing. I don't mean to sound like this is all doomed, but I mean, kinda. Okay, so I'll keep my personal beliefs to myself, but I will share two sides of things you ought to consider. In 2026, there are two groups of people who are leaning left. One who believes that we can vote our way to progress, that if Kamala Harris simply won, that there wouldn't be half of the problems that exist today in the world, and that things would be sunshine and rainbows. And there's another group that firmly believes that the system cannot be fixed. It needs to be torn down and reconstructed. They popularly say phrases like abolish ICE or defund the police, etc., etc. White people and those of you who maintain white supremacy, because let's be clear, white supremacy is not just maintained by white people. It is a system. Racism is not a feeling. It's a system. Racism is structural. It's not a feeling. It's a system. And sometimes people who uphold this system aren't all white. I'm talking about coons, like the black guy who was the head of urban development. I can't think of his name. The black guy in the former Trump administration. He comes to mind. I'm talking about any black person affiliated to the ALEC organization. And I'm talking about, I can't think. I love that I like block traumatic people out of my memory because like survival. But that one politician, el negro ese que me tiene el diablo, está del diablo. He's like, Jeffries, Hakeem Jeffries. Me puede pasar el culo ese cabrón. But anyway, white people and those of you who maintain white supremacy, like people like that, are just realizing the errors of your ways. I need you to understand a few things. One, you've caused harm by supporting systems that subdue and kill people of color. Yes, it's a violent system, so kill is not dramatic. Just turn on the news. Two, you're not owed grace. You're not owed grace, bro, or softness. As you leave the racist corner that you thrived in and once loved and are now coming to the reality of the plight of people, you're not owed grace or softness. People have the right to be mad. Three, you don't get an award for doing what's right. It's called being a good human being. You don't get an award. You don't. Four, people will not trust you, and they deserve to be apprehensive. If you're a good person, you'll push through anyways. Five, people have been speaking on this for literal centuries. Look for books to educate yourselves on. If you are a movie person, my God, turn on Netflix. Go watch 12 Years a Slave, which is a real story. Go watch the story of Khalif Browder. Go watch 13th. Like, there are way too many resources out there. None of this is new. Stop acting like it's new. It's insulting. Six, even though you've read these books, doesn't make you an authority. I'm going to say that one more time. Even though you've read these books, you've done your homework, you're unlearning, this does not make you an authority. In other words, shut up. You do not know more than black people. People of color don't need more white people speaking on our behalf, but especially black people. We don't need any more people speaking on black people's behalf. We need allies and amplification. Go learn how to be a good ally. And don't talk over black people. Like, don't do that. 7, so mind the space you occupy and how your presence adds to or disrupts an environment. Like, some of y'all are colonizers and y'all don't. Bueno. 8, accept the systems you benefit from may be based in or rooted in violence. Okay? And 9, listen more than you speak. Like, literally, this is the time for white people to shut up and listen. Like, literally. And, like, again, I can't say this nicer. I really can't. Because, like, what direction are we headed in? Like, if I said this nicer, I don't listen. Like, I don't listen when I'm nice. And, like, me being, like, shut up and listen is actually really, really nice of me. Because, like, the things I want to say. But it's just not my character. I meant it earlier when I said I don't have energy for this anymore. Mi gente, I'm really pretty. I'm 31. I'm really pretty. I have so much in front of me. I've done so much these past 8 years, but I have so much in front of me. I've given the world so much. I've educated so many people. I don't want to do this anymore. This podcast is such a gift. It's always a gift, a privilege to speak the truth in my way, on my time, in my own space. But after 8 years of educating the public, I don't have the energy or the desire to get so deep like I did in this episode. I have to think about the future, my mental health, my physical health, and what would honor me, bro. I won't stop believing in these things, of course, no. I just need like a degree or 2 or 3 of separation and to honor myself for all that I've given the world. I've given y'all so much, bro. And I can't do that by yapping into the void weekly on traumatic events. White women, it's your time to shine. And while you're at it, amplify my artistic work. And that, most importantly, taking me out of the equation, that of just people of color. Go amplify people of color. Go be a good ally. Go do that. Ally. Be great. I'm excited for my new direction, for real. You see. Mis corazones. We'll be right back right after these messages. Así que no te muevas. So I'm not going to front with y'all. everything I said previous to this moment, I wrote down because I really had to organize my thoughts. And I'll be damned that I'm talking about something so serious without like really doing my research or, doing my part. Because if I'm going to be educating like that on something so heavy, hell yeah, I'm going to write that shit down. But this right here, this is freestyle because high key, I don't want people to think that there's no hope in the world. Let me tell y'all something. And something that's been giving me joy lately. And it's high key, not expected. I know y'all gonna be like, girl, what? But I'm a really deep thinker, okay? I watch, to no surprise, a lot of movies about slavery. A lot. A lot. I like to watch them, study them, think about, what it took for formerly enslaved people to free themselves because of these last two words I just said. Free themselves. Mi corazones. There's several things that I have come to understand. And it's that the manner by which history has been told is so detrimental to Black people in general. Just because there's always this notion that people have saved us or that white people were just there's so many white savior tropes in media that a lot of people do not clock. And it's so dangerous. So dangerous. And because of this, there's a lot of docile type of mentality that I peep in a lot of people. And the truth of the matter is this. Nobody is gonna save you, bro. Nobody. You literally have to ponerte las pilas, put your best foot forward, and try to advocate for yourself, bro. Nobody is gonna save you. That's the saddest thing I've come to learn as an adult. But also, I feel once you grasp it as an adult, there's nothing that can stop you because you're not waiting around, waiting for someone to come save you. You're gonna go save yourself. You're gonna go make sure that you're doing enough to put yourself in good positions. But guess what? This has always been the case. So one thing that I've discovered, and this truly has been giving me joy, is that while I've been watching this media, and I'll be specific, I've watched The Underground, which was executive produced by John Legend. I've watched 12 Years a Slave, which is a lot heavier to digest. I've watched 13th, way more than I care for, but it is very educational. I've watched, what else? What else is out there? I've seen Roots once, a long time ago actually. But I've watched a lot of shows, movies, series that are based in the 19th century or the post Jim Crow era or the actual Jim Crow era, because it's all very fascinating to me. I've watched that problematic ass novela La Esclava Blanca because it's the only Spanish language media that exists about slavery. Oh my God, the way of which slavery has been erased from history in Latin America is truly disgusting. And it's disgusting not because people should live in this mentality, no. But it's because if you don't know what happened, you're going to be doomed to repeat history. Any historian, any intellectual will tell you this. If you don't understand your history, you're going to repeat it. So I think it's super important. And the reason why I've been finding joy is not because I relish in the suffering of others on screen and whatever. It's not porn to me. It's because I enjoy the specific media because I love these nuances of when I figure out just exactly how Black people freed themselves. I love The Underground, executive produced by John Legend, because the Black people who were enslaved on that show, and Harriet, oh my God, I love Harriet Tubman. I love her story. I love Harriet the movie. I've rewatched it I don't know how many times because the manner by which she's I'm not going to take no shit. I'm out of here. I'm out. I love that. And people underestimate that spirit. So I really think it's important for me to mention this because I think in history there's look at Dr. Martin Luther King. I literally said this the other day on Instagram. People romanticize history, and I think that's so dangerous, because when you don't think of things in the actual manner in which they occurred, you can't learn from it. Dr. Martin Luther King was not a beloved individual. That man was hated by the state. He was assassinated. So the fact that people talk about him in a light that literally is like, oh, you know, he was this amazing person who everyone loved, that's not the truth. That is not the truth. The truth is, a lot of people hated him. Hate got him killed. His truth, the manner by which he told the truth about Black people got him killed. So, like, what are you talking about? Like, I really hate the way that history is romanticized. It's ahistorical. It's nasty, bro. It's nasty. And there's nothing that people can learn from that. I think it's important for people to know that that man was hated. I think it's important for people to know that Black people freed ourselves. You really think with an economy that we were sustaining, that white people would simply what? Let us go? Bro, vamos a decir las cosas como son. Vamos a decir las cosas de verdad. Like, you really think white people would have what? Just let us go? Let's be fucking for real. No, they wouldn't have let us go. They would have kept us till now if they could have. In fact, a lot of people are trying to engage in that sort of conversation. And this is my point. They're trying to engage in this conversation, and a lot of people are entertaining it because they don't understand just how cruel the system was. A lot of people don't understand, and I'm sure I've said it before at some point in this podcast, that slavery is actually legal in the United States in 2026 if you're deemed a criminal. That's real shit. That is real shit. Y'all better watch 13th on Netflix. Y'all better go read the new Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. Y'all better go pick up a book and understand how these systems worked, who was actually oppressed, how, and how people got out of it. Another thing that I appreciate, and to the point of this, if you're a white person, you made it to the end of this podcast, man, God bless you, for real. Because I know it's not easy to hear about all these things. I'm not here to alleviate you of white guilt. I don't have the energy or desire to do that. Like, if you have guilt, I'm going to need you to unpack that. But one thing I will say is that, you know what I do appreciate from the underground too? It's that, sure, Black people freed ourselves. There's Harriet Tubman. There's people who ran away. There's people who created systems. There's people who, like, imagine Harriet Tubman is just one story that's been heavily documented. There's other people who are running away. There are Black people who were doing slave rebellions. There were, like, you get what I mean? People did not take slavery sitting down. But that's the part that's never said out loud, okay? And the other part that's not said out loud, that actually, ironically, good way to close this episode, is that actually a lot of Black people could not have made it if not for our white allies. There were white abolitionists in the 19th century, in the 18th century, in the 17th century. There's always been. As long as there's been white people who have been cruel, there's also been white people who have been good. And a lot of the people who were good, they were killed because they stood in the gap of racism to help Black people. And so Renee Nicole Good, I see her that way. What's this guy's name? Alex Preddy, I see him that way. Now, I think it's important to keep in mind how a lot of these deaths are being covered, how a lot of these white people are being positioned, how a lot of people are tuning into these issues because white people have been murdered, when so many Black people have been murdered, literally in the exact same way. So, yeah, I've said it online, so I'll say it here. I do think it's been a warning for white people to quote-unquote stay in their place. But guess what? All throughout the course of history, white people have never stayed in their place. The ones who want to be on the right side of history, there is a place for you. And so if that gives hope, great. Mi gente, I swear to God, this is all I have energy for because this is like a lot. But I hope you learned something. I'm bringing it back to reggaeton next week because this is who I am. I don't have it anymore. I am exhausted, dog. If this isn't conversation, great. But on me alone, I don't know if I can do this like that. Like, and honor myself and my mental health and where I want to be. Pues sí. Gracias por escuchar. Thank you for listening. I'm Gata, Reggaeton Con La Gata. Hasta la próxima. Reggaeton Con La Gata is an iHeartMedia production, co-executive produced by Nuri Annette of Shake It Easy Media. Shout out to my production assistants, Naomi Acevedo and Kayla Eccleston, my composer and editor, Happy Vibes. I'm your host and co-executive producer, La Gata. See you right here next week on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen.